Well, hi everybody. This is Jason Weaver with Local SEOs Magazine, and today we have Don Campbell, who is the founder of Expand to Web, the creator of the popular small biz WordPress theme, used by thousands of consultants and do-it-yourself business owners. He hosts regular tech sessions and provides extensive online training courses to help business owners navigate the ever-changing landscape of technology. His latest software is GetFiveStars, aimed at solving the review problem local SEOs and small businesses face. Don, it's really just an honor to have you on today.
Hey, thanks, Jason. I'm glad to be here.
Great. Well, we definitely had a couple burning questions that we wanted to get to you today. So one of them, in solving this whole problem, getting reviews, is how is asking for feedback different than asking for a review? Can it work for happy customers, every customer, unhappy customers? How's that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of the things that we find is a lot of business owners are really, really hyper focused on reviews, right? And with good reason. As a business owner, we're all nervous about what people are saying about us online. And, what if you get a bad review or, how do I get more good reviews? But what we find is that really the successful businesses that do really, really well, they kind of take a step back from that and they think of feedback first. They think of like, well, how do I just ask my customer for feedback right after the sale or right after the visit or right after the interaction? And how do I make my business better? And what's interesting is we find that most of the problems that a customer has are very, very small misunderstandings that can easily be taken care of. And a lot of times business owners don't even know about them. And so what we find is just to answer your question, I think the difference between feedback and reviews is that feedback just comes a lot earlier in the process. And the best businesses, the businesses that have the most customers and the best word of mouth referrals and everything else are businesses that they ask their customers, right? And they are open to hearing even if something's bad because that gives them a chance to fix it before the customer goes away and maybe never comes back or leaves a bad review on Yelp or something. And then it also helps them identify their happiest customers so they can ask them for a review. And you and I both know that if I'm asking my happiest customers for reviews, I'm much more likely to get them than if I either don't ask or I'm asking the wrong customers or whatever. So there's a big difference really between feedback and reviews. They're related, but they're different.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen countless times with small business owners, they just don't even know. They don't know any of those problems that are going on, and they have no system. And so if they're too scared to honestly ask
Yep.
every customer because they know they won't get good feedback from every customer.
Yeah, it's a scary thing
So
for businesses for sure. It's a scary thing, and I empathize with them. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're going to be better off by going, and just being proactive about this than trying to ignore it.
yeah, because it's going to come out one way or another,
Yeah,
and having it come out on your Yelp page is not good.
right. That's where you
So
don't want things to show up.
So how do you build word of mouth referrals versus just building review counts? I know that you've been known to say that's important.
Yeah, for sure. You when you talk to a lot of successful businesses, most of them will tell you that word of mouth referrals from their customers are their best source of new customers, right? And so obviously, how do they do that? Well, it really starts with this feedback, right? And getting feedback from customers and making the business a type of business that people want to refer. And this is something that I've always tried to do. I think it's a journey, there's never any destination. You don't always just get there where everybody's referring you all the time and you never have to do marketing. But I think that's a great ideal. I mean, in John Jantz's book, The Referral Engine, he talks about this sort of ideal state where, what if you didn't have to do marketing because you were such an exceptional business that people naturally wanted to refer you. And what's interesting is this really does work, right? I mean, we're people are wired to want to help other people. And so if you can set this up in your customer's mind and say, look, he talks about some things in the book like setting expectations with customers. Even when you're first interacting with a new customer, saying, look, our job is to deliver such a great product or experience to you that you're going to tell other people about us. I mean, that's our job. And if we're ever not following through on that, we want to hear about it. And setting that up front. Then later, once you deliver the great experience or the great product, and you come back and ask your customer for feedback, you can ask them for the referrals. And so this is an interesting mindset, and it's something that I've seen really be really effective for businesses where they can put a lot more of their dollars into that, like how do I deliver my customer experience, how do I support my customers, and less into buying ads on Facebook or Google AdWords.
Yeah, I know from articles that you've had online that Jans has really influenced kind of how you run your business. And one of the things that he does that you inspired me to go and look at was he maps out all the touch points that you have with your customer and says, how can you now prep them in that right framework of mindset, they are going to leave a review because they're going to have such a great experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I know the recent pack changes aren't necessarily making everybody happy, but it's probably affecting reviews. Does it make them more or less important?
I think, I mean, gosh, it's tricky because Google's always changing something, right? So it's one of those things where the old tried and true techniques, there are really no shortcuts to this. There are no hacks for this. You've got to have uh, a good website, good organic results, right? You have to have a good listing in Google and optimize that. You've got to have, you've got to do a good job of building citations and a good job of reviews. And I think that reviews are becoming more and more important for search results for businesses, right? They just keep getting more important. And the reason is because think about the search engines, they can trust reviews for the most part, right? They know that this is a human. It kind of bridges the online and the offline world. Like a person actually went to that business and then they interacted with this business and then they came online and they left a review about it. And so I think that it's reviews are only going to become more prominent as a search ranking factor, and we see this in this search ranking factors year after year in the local search ranking factors that David Min puts out, that reviews are consistently, in the top 5 of the most important things that you can do. So it's just a really good practice to worry about reviews and build those up because asking your best customers for feedback, asking them for reviews, and getting a nice steady state. One of the things that I think is interesting is that something like 73% in a recent survey, about 73% of people said they look at between 1 and 6 reviews before doing business with a business. And something like, I think it was 68% believe that those reviews need to be within the last 3 months to be valuable. So it's not like I just need to go get a pile of reviews. It's sort of like what's better is just to continually get a nice stream of reviews over time that are current. And that shows Google that you're operating as a business, right? And it builds authority there. Also with potential customers too. They say, oh boy, this is a recent review and it's a good one. And I can see there's, a constant stream of these reviews coming in over time.
Yeah, that certainly has been a great study by Bright Local and a few others that have,
Yeah.
Gone and looked and seen, how important is it, how many, and it is always funny to talk to a small business owner and say, people want to read 6 or more reviews and they have none,
Right.
and then it really puts them in the place of, man, I really got to do something about this for sure. And that really segued into, some burning questions that we've had about consistency. Can you touch on, of getting reviews, can you touch on getting a higher than average rating? Why would that be so important to the game?
Well, consistency is one thing. One thing we see is with certain industries, people don't tend to leave a lot of reviews, right? So obviously your coffee shops or for restaurants, lots of reviews. For other industries, for if you're a doctor or different types of, an insurance agent or different kinds of businesses that people don't think, oh, I better go out on Yelp or Google and leave a review for that
Yeah.
insurance policy I just bought. So it's interesting, right? What is interesting about that is for industries where you don't get a lot of reviews, it becomes really important to ask for them, right? So in certain industries where there are a few industries I can think of where the average business owner in that industry has one online review and it's over a year old. And and that's because it's hard to get reviews for this type of business. But if you go out and you ask for this feedback like we talked about, and you make sure your customers are happy, and then you ask them for reviews, and you even just get one a month or one every other month, after a year you have between 6 and 12 reviews, in an industry where the average competitor of yours has one and it's a year old, over a year old. That's a big deal. That kind of consistency also really helps in your rankings. What we see is that in Google anyway, once you get 5 reviews, you get a better chance for those reviews for the stars to show up near your listing. And after 10 reviews on Google, then you get a little bump in the rankings. So it's important to do that for the rankings. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to go get as many reviews as possible. You just need to look at your industry and put yourself in a place where you're doing more, a little more than what the average, people are doing in your industry or in your local area. And it can really help you stand out, not only in terms of rankings, but in terms of conversion too. Because just like I'm sure you would agree, when you're looking something up on Google, you're looking, and if you go to one business has 11 reviews that average 4.5 stars and the next one has like one or nothing, you're probably going to take a chance with the one that's got some reviews out there.
Yeah, if only it's going to get the click first, and that
Exactly.
click leads to the call or the
Yep.
going in store.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, that comes to, you've been said that known to say that how many, like the most common question you get is how many requests should I send? How often should I send them? What should I say when saying them? And I know we'd all love to know what's the secret.
Yeah, it really depends on the industry, right? It depends a lot. What I like to tell people or businesses is don't, like if you have 500 customers in your list or 1,000 customers in your list, don't try and don't send it all at once, right? You want to sort of space it out over time. And the very best time to ask for, well, I always, as you know from our system, we like to ask for feedback first and then find out if people are happy or not. If they're not happy, take care of it. If they are happy, then you can go ask them for the review. But the closer to the interaction or the sale or the visit, the better. The higher your chance of getting the response, right? And then you might get, I mean, it depends on industry a lot, but if you send out 100 feedback requests, this is what we see, you might get 8 or 10 responses and 1 or 2 online reviews from that. So it's definitely a numbers game. You can't just send out like 5 or 10 requests and expect to get anything, even with your happy customers, because it turns out everybody says they'll leave you a review, and I'm sure they intend to, but people are really busy, and sometimes it's kind of hard for them to leave a review, and they maybe aren't super familiar with, or they don't have a Google account, so it's hard for them to do that, right? So, yeah, I think it's important to sort of build that kind of consistency over time. I mean, I don't have like an exact number of how many to send out, but just remember that it's a long-term game, and you want to be asking consistently over time. And Google or Yelp, the search engines don't want to see a whole spike of a whole bunch of reviews at once. They want to see it natural, like a natural review profile built over time.
Yeah, those filters. Those filters are so strong sometimes, and that's why I wanted to ask you about Yelp,
Yeah.
which is everybody's favorite filter.
Yeah, the
So
million-dollar
how do
question.
you just would get around that?
How do you avoid the Yelp filter? Yeah, if I had an answer to that, I would be I'd be on my island in Fiji somewhere right now. No, it's tricky with Yelp. They have a very aggressive filter. Yelp will tell you they say don't ask for reviews. They don't want you to ask for reviews. They want them to happen naturally. I've seen lots of businesses. It's so unfortunate. Businesses that don't get a lot of reviews, they ask their best customers for reviews. They get filtered out, even though they're legit. And sometimes they might even get a bad review from somebody, but they can't do anything about it. It's very, very frustrating. What I like to say is I don't like to focus on Yelp for reviews. I like to ask for reviews on Google and Facebook. Facebook is really up and coming as a review source now. Google is indexing those reviews on the small business pages in Facebook. And almost everybody has a Facebook account, so it's very convenient and easy for your customers to leave reviews there. Definitely want to get them on Google as well. And then what I've seen some people do, which is interesting, is they'll look through their customer list and they'll go out and find out if any of their customers are Yelpers, like if any of them are on Yelp, and then they'll send review requests just to them. So then they're asking, if you're asking for a review from an avid Yelper, somebody who's active and they've logged in somewhat recently, they have a profile picture, they've reviewed at least 5 other businesses, and they're active Yelper, then there's a lot higher chance of that review to stick. So some savvy businesses are doing that. They're finding out which of their customers are Yelpers, and then they're going out and asking them for reviews. So that's one approach you can take. Um, but keep in mind, Yelp isn't popular all over either. It's not popular. It's more popular on the coasts, right? And it's not always the go-to source. Sometimes, at least living in Silicon Valley, live in kind of a bubble sometimes and don't realize how the rest of the world works all the time. Not everybody's using the same things in Yelp and everything like that. So
Yeah, and if you've ever talked to a Yelp about advertising,
yeah,
a representative about advertising, they think the entire world revolves around Yelp, and the cost is the same.
yeah,
It's everywhere,
yeah.
which is pretty
I
funny.
have not found.
But
Yeah, I don't know if that's the way to go, but I'm not going to say
yeah,
anything about it.
well, I know recently there's been two ways on Yelp to find out if your customers, are on there. I've seen that you put in their email and friend request, and then I've also seen, I believe David Mim said at a recent conference where he'll go ahead and use the Facebook Open Graph and say anybody that's liked Yelp and liked this business, and
Mm,
I'm pretty sure you're only going to find results if you have quite a few customers because
yeah,
that's kind of a long shot a little bit that you'd have that many customers and that they would have also liked Yelp and your business.
yeah, exactly.
But
And
if,
that's like the best way. I mean, another way I've seen is just in the office. Sometimes you can train your staff to ask, hey, are you a Yelper? You mind if we follow up with some feedback? I mean, should be asking, even some really simple, obviously we have a system to help automate this with Get5Stars, but what I've seen a lot of businesses do is just something real simple. They have a clipboard, and when customers come in and, before they leave, they say, oh, wow, thanks so much. They just explain how important reviews are and say, would you mind taking a few minutes to leave us a review? And they'll, sure. So take their first name and their email address down. And at the end of the week, they've got a nice list of customers, and then they can go back and send out the requests right from the business owner or the doctor or whoever. And sometimes just a simple way. And so during that process, a lot of times, you can ask, hey, are you a Yelper or not? Or you can find a few of your customers that are, and then if it's appropriate. So that's another way. Is just kind of the tactical on the ground kind of finding out way.
yeah, and you definitely don't want to be too doomsday, but what if Google tomorrow changes everything and you have zero customer contact information and their number one way is to find you on Yelp, or to find you
Oh
online
yeah.
and you haven't invested in Yelp or any other sites, you're up a creek. So it's probably a good business practice in general to take information down of your customers more
Oh,
than
for
just their
sure.
credit card.
And you'd be surprised how many businesses don't have even the email addresses or phone number of their customers, right? They just don't have it, and they may never see that customer again. And then to your point about what you're saying about, relying on Yelp too much, that's why I also believe that it's a great idea for every business to have their own website, right? Because then they have at least some say online. They've got some ranking there. It's not just you're not just leaving it up to Google or Yelp as they change the way they do things, right?
Yes, definitely. Well, if we could fast forward into the future, but find out now what's going to happen to reviews and asking for reviews and how that should go. What's the future? What's the future of a system that helps people with reviews, but also helps them manage their customer interactions and relationship?
Yeah, wow, that's a good question. I don't know, but a couple things I think are for sure. One is I think you'd agree with me. You're seeing more and more when you go places, you're being asked for feedback and ratings and reviews, right? I mean, I think Amazon has made it into has created it into our consciousness. Like I can't even buy a book now, even when I'm at like a local bookstore. I can't buy a book without looking at the reviews first. And I like to buy it locally, but I'll pull out my phone and look at the review real quick, you know? And I think
And the
that,
price better not be off by that much.
yeah, right. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, and then there's a value to being able to get it now or have to wait and everything. But I
Definitely.
like to be able to see a little bit about the book. Um, and that's a little extreme, but I think that, we are becoming accustomed to reviews and just understanding, information about these businesses. So that's going to keep happening. I mean, if you notice like Square, like you see all the food trucks and so many more, even taxis now in some cases are using Square as a way to swipe your credit card, and they have a little feedback system. They ask you for feedback afterward. I'm seeing it show up more and more. I think it's going to continue um, as businesses get smart and figure out, wow, I really need to be in a closer loop with my customers. I also think that businesses will continue to get more savvy and collect email addresses from their customers, and not to use them as a marketing but just as a way to stay in touch with their customers. And if they're smart about how they use those email addresses, then like giving a birthday reminder with a coupon or a discount or a gift, or using the email to reach out to the customers and add value and keep in touch with them. I think that's another aspect of this that's going to continue to get more popular. So I believe that businesses are going to continue, like everything's a commodity, it seems like now, right? And so for a business to really stand out, they have to deliver an exceptional experience, and they need to follow up with their customers and have a better relationship with them. And that's what I'm hoping, whenever I'm writing an article, or this is kind of like an ideal that I'm chasing after, and I want to be able to help as many other businesses get to that point as well, because I think it makes it for a better experience. I mean, think about the last time you had a great experience at a place. I mean, it just makes you feel good, right? And it makes you loyal. And I was at this place the other day where I had to pick up some food. I was going to pick up my daughter from gymnastics, and I know she really likes this the chicken strips at this one restaurant. And so I went there first to pick them up. Then I was going to bring her home and we could eat them. And something happened with the order where I was waiting for the chicken strips, and then something happened and they had brought them over to this other window, and I had to check on it, and they were so sorry. They were like, "Oh, I'm really sorry about that. Here's a gift card for like, $25 next time when you come back." And they gave me like
Oh,
twice as many chicken strips, and they gave me an extra food, and they just totally went overboard and took care of me. And I've seen that happen. I wasn't even complaining. I was just, asking where the food was. I wasn't mad because I've been there before and I know it's a good place. But it's just interesting whenever you get those kind of experiences, it just keeps bringing you back. And so I just think that that's how we need to stand out in this world where, everything's a commodity, is we need to deliver a great experience for customers. And how do you do that? You ask them for feedback, you take care of them, you build a relationship with them.
yeah. Basically loyalty. How can you help them
Yeah,
feel like you deserve their business over the next guy
right.
that does the same thing down the street?
Hmm.
So how about texting? Is that on the horizon? Recently I've looked at, even sending texts to ask for reviews, and it definitely seems a bit dodgy sometimes what link that you send them. Recently Mike Blumenthal looked at what link can you send them to send them right to be able to leave a review and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I think texting is definitely up and coming. I'm seeing this happen more and more because what we find is that different people prefer different modes of communication, right? We've seen this before. Like some people, they got to talk to you on the phone, right? Some people don't want to talk to you on the phone. They want to talk to you on email. Other people, they prefer text. And so it all depends. I know I've talked to business owners who say, look, I can tell you exactly when we send out an email, we're going to get 40% of the people that are going to open up that email. The other, I know a certain set of my customers that will never open the email, but if I send them a text, they'll respond right away. And there's another segment of my customers that I would need to give them like a printed postcard or something. And so I think that that text is definitely up and coming. We're going to see it more. I mean, heck, I even get like from AT&T for my mobile phone service when I call for support, I get a text follow up from them asking how the service was, right? So I think text is more certainly on our roadmap as a significant feature we're adding soon at GetFiveStars, because I think there's a lot of opportunity there. We're looking at that whole mix and saying, well, only 40% are going to open the email, and you get another 20% from text and a little more from the kiosk mode that we have, and then some more from printed postcards. And so you kind of have to look at that whole picture. And I think text is a convenient way to communicate, especially when they're your customer and they're opted in to hearing something from you, like a appointment reminder or a follow-up. Then I think that's a super effective way to communicate.
Well, Don, it definitely looks like it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
We're going to have to solve the review problem.
Yep.
And do you happen to have any shameless self plugs for Get 5 Stars?
No, I would say though, for every business owner, you got to be doing something here. I know that Darren Shaw and Phil Rozek came together and they created these like printed handouts that you can give to your customers that guide them through leaving you a review. That's an excellent low budget way to go. They did a great job with that. I think you can get it at the whitespark.ca website. So, or you can use that list I talked about. Print off a sheet with name and email address and have your staff collect those when customers come in, so that you're getting the email addresses. We're trying to take this whole feedback and review process and automate it with GetFiveStars. So definitely give us consider us as a way to do that as well. But make sure you're doing something to ask your customers for feedback. Avoid those negative reviews, get more positive reviews, and most importantly, just build great relationships with your customers.
Yeah, so that way you'll be around for quite a bit into the future.
That's right.
Well, Don, this has definitely been a pleasure to be able to interview you and get some burning questions from small business owners and internet marketers alike answered to understand solving this problem. And we appreciate you having you here on Local SEOs Magazine, the new App Store magazine. So we'll definitely have to check back with you in the future and see how things are going, and appreciate you being on.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Jason. Have a great day.
You as well.
Thank you for listening to Local SEOs Podcast. Check out the website and magazine, Local SEOs Mag. If you enjoyed the cast, please be a supporter by subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing us on your favorite social network. I'm Jason Weaver. Until next time.